Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The coronavirus outbreak is continuing to escalate, with more than 28,000 confirmed cases and 565 deaths, the majority in China. Here, authorities remain vigilant, but we remain free of the virus, with 3 people coming back negative. Tonight, we take you to the front line of the protection efforts here in Tasmania, with new rapid testing capabilities now set up.
A new test for a potentially deadly virus. In a busy Royal Hobart Hospital pathology lab, experts today undertaking testing for coronavirus. All hands on deck running tests most days, designed by senior laboratory staff right here in Tasmania.
It's a fairly standard way of testing. The machinery and the equipment was already here. It was just a matter of designing something to detect this new virus.
In the second phase, the tests are moved to a lab next door. Doctors examining the results. So far, they've delivered good news. The latest 3 cases all coming back negative for coronavirus.
That's particularly important if we have people who are very unwell in hospital, and even those people who've been tested and aren't that unwell, we can get a result to them faster.
Testing previously had to be done on the mainland. We've been given special access to the labs here at the Royal Hobart Hospital, where since yesterday staff have been able to undertake their tests on site, making for a much quicker turnaround. But as the illness spreads across the globe, the flow-on effects are being felt far and wide. It's a shock some are not sure they'll recover from.
Completely stressful. Haven't been able to sleep over night time.
I just don't really see a future unless things change, you know. Yeah.
This crayfishing family waiting on the Hobart docks, left with around 500 crayfish to sell and cheap. Usually they'd be sending them to China, but with the market in lockdown, they have nowhere to go. But it's the uncertainty that's the toughest, their future in the industry unknown.
It could be months, it could be 12 months, you know, no one knows. I'm sort of in touch with our cray buyer every day, and it's the same answer every day, don't know.
We've taken steps immediately with the crayfish industry. We've rolled quotas forward and we're providing support to that industry sector.
But local businesses are rallying together. Just up the road from the cray boat, a local chef is doing what he can to help.
We heard there's a bit of a crayfish sort of crisis at the moment with the ban on the exports, so we thought why not jump in on that one as well. Here we've got the lobster.
He's bought up as much of the seafood as he can. On the menu at the popular Hobart Cafe, a luxurious crayfish scrambled eggs. So far proving to be a popular choice with customers. But it's the fishermen remaining front of mind for this head chef.
Such a strong sense of community, and this just pushes that even further.
A true sense of community spirit emerging. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
And a short time ago, we spoke to a Launceston woman, Alana Hoskinson, who is stuck on board the Diamond Princess.
They came in and took our temperature and went away, and then there was another knock at the door, and there was a little group of Japanese health workers all gowned up and everything, came in to take throat swabs to see if we had the virus. That was because I'd had the flu earlier, so not everybody was tested, but we were. Obviously, we were fine. But yeah, it's been pretty, I guess, intense, especially being locked in an interior cabin. We don't know whether it's day or night or if we're at sea or docking. I suppose we should be scared. We're not really scared. We don't really think we're going to get the virus. It's stressful because it's claustrophobic. We don't have a window or anything. We don't know whether it's night, day, whatever, unless we actually put the TV on and there's a camera on the bridge that looks out and we know whether it's daylight or dark. I personally would just like to say that Princess is doing the very best that they can to look after us. It's not them that are keeping us confined. It is the Japanese Health Authority. And they're doing the best they can. And same with the Japanese Health Authority. They're doing the right things to try and stop the spread of the virus. It's just that we've managed to get caught up in it all.
The trouble-plagued Royal Hobart Hospital redevelopment has hit yet another hurdle, with water on the construction site contaminated with lead. The project bosses say they're continuing to flush the plumbing, as is usual in new builds, but workers say they've been kept in the dark.
The scaffolding has come down and the shiny new facade exposed as the Royal Hobart Hospital's new block nears completion. But in a project with no shortage of issues, union officials today revealing concerns water consumed by construction workers has unsafe levels of lead.
They couldn't get the appropriate answers they wanted. to satisfy themselves that it was safe, so we got external independent tests done.
The testing conducted by a government agency returning startling results.
You can have 10 parts per litre of lead of a certain unit, and these have come back at about 28, so it's going towards 3 times the safe levels.
New signage has gone up, warning workers not to consume the water. The project director says testing has delivered unsatisfactory results, so flushing and verification of the plumbing is continuing.
Entirely normal process for workers to drink the water on site, the permanent water on site. That's just the case here, that workers have been kept in the dark.
Work health and safety is a matter for the managing contractor.
The government is considering whether to classify the building as practically complete, but says this process won't be rushed.
We'll get to practical completion and then we'll begin the operational commissioning of the hospital. At this stage, our expectation is that that will be later in February.
The John Holland Fairbrother joint venture, which is running the redevelopment, says it's committed to safety, and flushing of plumbing is a normal process during commissioning. John Hunt, 7 Tasmanian News.
Premier Peter Gutwein has sat down with Westbury prison opponents as the government tries to reset negotiations over the controversial project. He's sticking to his guns but is promising to consider the advice of studies into the impact of the plan.
Wherever the Premier goes in Westbury, protesters aren't far behind.
I will certainly be responding to all emails. Thank you. Yeah.
As he met opponents for the first time, Peter Gutwein took a softer approach.
This is the preferred location, but we need to work through the process, and we'll have more to say on that as we work our way through that.
That process is an economic and social impact study, including a phone survey. As for what happens if the answers don't favour the plan...
Well, look, I'm not going to speculate and deal with hypotheticals.
Others are. Some warn they'll pack their bags if the prison comes to town.
I'm going to Burnie today for a job interview because I will not stay here if the prison goes ahead.
Well, I've lived in prison towns before. I know what it's like, and the industry will die up. It'll dry up and this will become a ghost town.
This afternoon's meetings proved positive, but protesters are still promising to take the fight to the courts and the next election.
The government have botched this from the start. They need to scrap Westbury as their site for a northern prison because this is clearly a community who have had this forced upon them.
And forced to hold their breath while the debate rages on. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Runners in this year's Hobart Run the Bridge race will take home a unique piece of Tasmania. They'll receive a timber medallion made out of oak sourced from across the state. Over 4,000 of them are being produced by Hobart woodwork company Zanderware. Race organisers say they'd previously sourced the items from overseas.
In the past, we had to order the medals back in October and wait for them to be shipped out on the slow boat from China. Here we are, 2 weeks out from the event. They're getting them locally, freshly made.
The race will take place on the 23rd of February. From some of our most iconic sporting moments to the hidden memories, a new exhibition shines a light on the contribution of Tasmanian women in sport. The showcase of memorabilia hopes to inspire the next generation.
Sporting greats sharing their experience with up-and-coming talent. Olympian Susan Andrews is a track superstar and one of the Tasmanian female athletes featured in a new exhibition.
I've been in sport for a very long time now, from an athlete all the way through to working at Tasmanian Institute of Sport as a coach and administrator, so it's been a nice time to reflect on that with Kylie.
Opening tomorrow at the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery in Hobart, the exhibit titled The Change Room celebrates the sporting achievements of Tasmanian women. Items on display include team uniforms and signed memorabilia. Diving champion Elizabeth Jack has contributed from her personal collection, including the torch she ran with through Launceston before the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
It's fantastic to see the range of contributions women have made to sport and recreation in this state for many, many years.
Supported by Events Tasmania as part of the T20 Women's World Cup, it also highlights the work undertaken by those involved behind the scenes.
It's a way to celebrate those women in the background, the coaches, the administrators, the supporters, the commentators, and we know in a time when the environment is changing for women, that this needs to be celebrated more and more.
It's hoped that the items and stories on display will help to inspire the next generation of athletes to one day represent our state and country on the world stage.
It's really cool to see that maybe there's actually a really good pathway for the youngsters coming up through the ranks.
The change room is open until March 29. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmanian News.
Thousands of music fans have converged on a rural property near Launceston for one of the state's biggest festivals. Party in the Paddock will take centre stage for its final year, but organisers say they have new festival plans for the future.
For 8 years, some of the world's biggest music stars have graced this stage amid the backdrop of white hills. But Party in the Paddock is preparing to take its final bow.
We put a lot of effort into this festival over the years, and it's pretty crazy to be like, oh wow, it's all over.
Festival owners opting for a fresh change to mark the start of a new decade.
It was an artistic choice. We didn't want Party in the Paddock to become, another big commercial festival. And at its size, it's really reached its peak.
But they're going out with a bang. Big names such as Matt Corby, Hermitude and Broods are headlining this year's bill, as well as more than 50 Tasmanian artists, including folk singer Celeste Minky.
It's great that so many local plus national acts come, and it's a big soup of everything.
This afternoon, cars slowly crawled to the campground.
We've been coming here for 3 years now, and it's honestly one of the best festivals we've ever been to. It's just a great community vibe.
As punters began to build their home for the next 3 days.
The girls have actually done most of the work, which is... yeah, they've done all the work. I lied.
Authorities are urging attendees to be safe, saying there will be a high police presence on the ground. An end of an era for Party in the Paddock, but the festival void may only be temporary.
Yeah, we've definitely got things on the cards.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmanian News.
Longford's rich motor racing past will come alive next month when the first Motorama revs into town. Organisers have big ambitions, working towards making it the largest car show of its kind in the country.
Longford used to be car racing central. The town had its own Grand Prix track in the 1950s and 60s. Fast forward 60 years, the buildings remain, but the street circuit is no more.
It was the fastest racing car track in the Southern Hemisphere. All the drivers of the day, the Graham Hills, the John Surtees, the Denny Holmes, the Jack Brabhams, they all raced here.
Now a group of passionate car enthusiasts are making sure the town's rich history isn't forgotten. The first ever Longford Motorama will be held next month.
We're going to showcase the past, present and future.
There'll be dozens of cars on display as well as a pop-up museum with some very special relics.
We've managed to pick up 2 of the oldest cars with history. Probably got more history than any other race cars ever brought to Tasmania. They're originally from here and have been in museums.
It's the first time these vehicles have been back in Longford in more than 50 years. There'll even be some pedal cars for the kids. But it's not just all about cars.
We've got vintage boats coming, vintage caravans, and pretty much if it had a motor and was raced or driven or towed or floated, that'll be there at the Motorama.
Organisers are hoping for around 10,000 people to attend the 3-day show, which will be held from March 6 to 8. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmanian News.
Last December's retail turnover was up on the previous year, jumping almost $40 million. Amid the fluctuating economic climate, the Launceston City Council is planning to review its 30-year-old City Prom program, which promotes local retailers.
Is there a different way to structure it, the business model and then marketing models? Have a look at different marketing models that are around the country, around the world.
The report is expected back in Council's hands by mid-year.
Tasmania's last final hopeful in the singles draw, Harry Bouchier, has been knocked out of the Launceston International. The 24-year-old fell short against Belgium's Kimmer Koppians, who took out the match 6-2, 7-5. South Australia's Alex Bolt cruised to the quarterfinals with a straight sets win over Zimbabwe's Benjamin Locke. In the women's draw, Amber Marshall beat fellow Aussie Belinda Woolcock, while America's Sasha Vickery was too strong for Australia's Ivana Popovic. A well-known Tasmanian sporting identity has been appointed as Glenorchy Football Club's first ever full-time Chief Executive Officer. Mark Shivers beat a number of applicants to the position, which replaces the part-time General Manager's role. The businessman has extensive experience in basketball, including a stint running the South East Australian League.
Even though it's a different code to what I'm used to, I don't think the running of the business changes. You know, we've got a good football operations department.
Mark has been CEO of a league. He's run businesses successfully, and that's what Glenorchy Football Club is. It's a business that supports our football operations.
The club also confirming Reza's Safety will be the new naming rights sponsor this coming season. The Tasmanian Tigers have lost to the ACT Meteors in the women's domestic cricket competition in Canberra. A 70 not out from Emma Thompson-Flint helped power the Tigers to 198 in their innings. With the ball, Belinda Vakawira was threatening, taking 3 wickets. But the home side was too strong, with Erica Kershaw and Sarah Coit combining for a run partnership to edge the Meteors over the line.
Good evening. Temperatures closer to average today. Hobart 22, Launceston 25, Burnie 20 and Devonport 21. 25 was the high, also at Ouse and Cressy. Flinders Island, Friendly Beaches and Grove 23, Smithton and Strahan 22, King Island 21, Lyre, Low Head and St Helens 19. Large patches of low-level cloud over the north of the state today, with isolated low cloud over the rest of the state, smoke haze over Bass Strait. Onshore winds brought low cloud over New South Wales and southern Queensland. The tropical low whips it up over the far northwest of the nation. Thunderstorms follow the inland troughs. Tomorrow the monsoon trough runs along the far north of Australia. A high positions just to our southwest. Low pressure troughs abound over the mainland. Let's have a look now at the winds for tomorrow, mainly east-southeasterly later in the day as we approach 15 to 20 knots along the east coast, a bit stronger over southern waters, light and variable winds inland. Hobart tomorrow, cloudy 20 degrees, 20 for Huonville and cloudy for Campania and 21. Launceston, showers later, 28 the high before the change, 24 the top for Devonport with a shower or two developing, same for Georgetown and 26 degrees. Burnie partly cloudy and 23, 24 the top for Strahan, mostly sunny in the west, Wynyard partly cloudy and 24. And St Helens, a shower or two, 22 degrees, 21 the top for Swansea, cloudy for Port Arthur and 19. UV dropping a tad but still very high. On Saturday, fine and partly cloudy with showers over the east, a morning shower over the east on Sunday with partly cloudy weather elsewhere, and on Regatta Day holiday mainly fine for those with the day off, but showers over the north and northeast. A possible late storm over Perth and Adelaide after warm days, humid in Melbourne, a few heavy showers forecast for Sydney, and wet weather for Brisbane and further north. It's clear in Hobart, 21 at the moment, 23 and fine in Launceston, sunny in Devonport and 19 degrees. I have forgotten, ladies and gentlemen, to include one of the warnings for tonight's forecast, and that we have a major flood warning tomorrow due to the tears that will be flowing with Joe Palmer's departure from our news set. I'm welling up already, but you better be here tomorrow night. Don't call in sick.
I just mightn't throw you all off. Thank you very much, Murph. That's all from the team for now. We will join you a little later with updates, but for now, thanks for your company and good night.